Hi, and welcome to episode 33 of K-12 Tech Talk. In this episode, we talk to another ransomware victim. However, this episode is different than most of the other ransomware episodes we've done. This interview is with Gene. Gene didn't have your typical ransomware experience. He had a really rough way to go. At one point during the interview, he said, "I'm just looking for some water." That gives you an idea of how it went. Have a listen.
All things technical in K-12. This is K-12 Tech Talk Podcast with Josh, Chris, and Corey.
Live from the somethingcool.com studios, this is K-12 Tech Talk with Chris, Josh, and Corey, and we have a special guest that we will introduce in a little bit. This is episode 33. We are in the heat of state testing. How's it going, fellas?
I thought you said you were in heat.
I am not. That, Chris.
Josh is in heat.
You two. Corey's been drinking, so I'll give Corey a pass. But
I just got home from church. How map testing? It's going great.
That's me. I'm coughing.
I thought you had a problem, Chris. Didn't you have a problem at DRC?
It's been going terribly wrong.
Has it?
One of our elementaries, they started testing and they got, Corey's always coughing.
Yeah.
COVID cough. They started testing and they were getting like a missing file or something error. It was an MP3, kicking kids out left and right from the test. And I had to click a validate button on the COS, not on the in eDirect.
Yeah, the portal or whatever it's called. Yeah. How long did that take to validate?
Like 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. So not as long as I thought.
And I thought it would kick everybody out, but I'm pretty sure we had a middle school testing at the same time, and we forgot to tell them we were doing something, but they didn't say anything happened.
Are you running, not codependent, but load balanced DRC COSs?
No, we just do one.
You just do one. So what are the specs on it?
Beefy.
I was going to say, I just do one as well, and it's not very beefy.
Really?
I mean, I think it's whatever they recommended in the thing.
Well, you've got like 15 students. I have 2 COSs, and we load balance. And I think the specs are pretty, like I've got 16 gig in them, and they do well. We, knock on wood, we haven't had any real problems this week. Our hot topic of discussion this week has been Chromebook collection and starting to plan for that. We're about about a month out from Chromebook collection, and how to let kids use them over summer school, remediation, the kids that need remediation over summer school. So we're in the development stages for that and how to collect that. So it's been an interesting week.
Why did you guys tell me about this mute button?
I don't.
I've been coughing my head off for a month.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it at least once. Go ahead, Chris. What were you saying?
We've been working on Chromebook collection too. A couple of weeks ago, I sent out the email, all the principals, curriculum director, who's also over the virtual kids, all that stuff. We coordinate what dates are good. I get it locked in. This last week, I sent out an email reminding everyone, and then it comes up that we are collecting Chromebooks for the virtual kids. Like they were told that they can continue with learning like 4 days after Chromebook collection. Like no one like that wasn't my job to communicate that. That was someone's job to check.
Right.
So then we had drama.
It's
fine.
So I guess Corey and I have been involved in a little bit of drama this week. We placed our orders for access points, and we've been told that there is potential for a major delay. So if you are waiting on ordering equipment for next school year, and it includes access points or firewalls, you may want to get those orders in, because you might be slightly surprised with back order status. I've had a core switch on order for over a month, and I've told it might be here in June. And the access points I've ordered, there's a potential delay as late as September.
I was told mine would be here next week.
You're lying. You're trying to get.
We all know the vendor who I order from. They might be a sponsor of the show. They are.
PDS.
It's called favoritism.
Provision Data Solutions. Well, and let's be like real about it as well, which is this is what I would want out of a consulting company.
I'm going to write a letter is what I'm going to
Corey
do.
has used them for a very long time. Josh, you're a newer kid on the block with Provision Data Solutions. You typically call them PDS and you mispronounce Ryan's name.
Bothkoff?
So
Shame.
Well, and
Shame.
Corey uses them for a lot. You know, I just typically buy hardware from them. So
he's more needy.
yeah. You want to talk about Provision and Brian real quick?
Corey can.
Me?
They're
Yeah.
buddies.
Yeah, Provision Data Solutions. They better get my APs to me in June, or otherwise they're dead to me. Anyways, yeah, Provision Data Solutions. They do everything from switching to wireless networks to server work. They've been doing a lot of ClearPass stuff lately. Aruba, hit us up, tweet us out. Yeah, so give Ryan an email, ryanr@provisionds.com.
And real quick, we'll go ahead and plug our merch. Chris finally brought me the shirts and hoodies today. And my son got in the truck this afternoon. He's like, "Oh, your pod merch is in." I'm like, "Okay, so that's to be hip. It's called pod merch."
Swag.
Yeah. So you can go to our website and order that stuff. K12techtalkpodcast.com. Shoot us an email, share this podcast with your friends. We're getting ready to get into a very interesting part of the podcast. We'll go ahead and introduce, maybe this is going to become a thing for us, and I think that would be awesome. We have Gene, special guest Gene with us. He was his district was a victim of a ransomware attack recently, and we're going to have him tell his story. So, Gene, welcome to the show.
What's up, Gene?
Thanks for
having me, gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks for putting up with Corey.
So can we say that Gene, if it is Gene's real name, we won't say or not, how was Gene selected?
Gene and I emailed back and forth a few times over the last 2 weeks. So,
but why is Gene's name Gene?
Okay, that's what Corey's getting at. Is that the one Corey picked, or Gene, did you pick that name?
I sent it to you guys.
Okay. Corey wanted another name.
Gene, why do you favor Gene?
Actually, I've went by that name before.
Oh,
I just thought, yeah, let me.
So this isn't your first. This isn't your first incognito podcast, is what you're saying? Or when you stay in hotels, you have to go under a different name.
Short story. When I graduated high school, I went to stay with my brother, and he was in the Army, and I was down in Fort Benning, Georgia, and I went to work at Domino's. It was like, well, what name you want on the name tag? And I'm thinking, and it's actually part of my middle name. So I was like,
oh, okay, all right. Well, we won't go any further there. So, welcome to the pod. And Corey is very distracting, bouncing his head back and forth like that. So tell us about your district. How many kids you guys have? How many staff you guys have? Give us an idea of what you're dealing with.
We're about 1,200 students.
Okay.
Approximately 130 staff. 4 buildings, 2 elementaries, high school, middle school.
Okay.
Our elementaries is proportionate to like our middle school and high school, and then we have a smaller elementary. So
okay. So as far as IT staff goes, are you a one-man show, or do you have a help person?
Wow. Interestingly, man, at one time we had 3 people.
Holy cow.
It was me, and I had there's 2 assistants.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We were rolling, man.
I was going to say, what did you do?
I handled all of the big stuff. Like,
okay. Yeah, I get it.
Because we have in-house systems, phone, intercom,
sure,
door access,
yep.
So we got quite a few things on our plate.
Your students, Chromebooks, Windows devices, what kind of environment you got?
From 3rd grade to 12th grade, we're 1-to-1 with Chromebooks.
Okay.
And here recently, since we have so many coming in, instead of getting rid of old ones, they start giving them to K through 12.
Yeah.
Just to get them a little experience with them.
Sure.
Things like that. So,
but your younger kids aren't taking them home, or are they taking them home?
Just middle school and high school are taking them home.
Yeah. I think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a feel for your environment. 1,200 students, 150 staff. How many? So you used to have 3 people. How many do you have now? Is it just you?
It's 2 of us.
Okay.
My second assistant, he moved on, and he found a better position and stuff. So
Sure.
he moved on, and I got a new boss, and he was like, "Hey, want to try just 2 people?" And I'm like, what are we going to do with that money? We just
right.
So he's like, "Hey, we'll try to give some out." I'm like, "All right, well, we'll make do." So,
yeah.
So that's how it went.
Did he follow through on that?
Well, fiscal year is not come yet.
So you haven't seen it yet. You haven't seen the action yet.
But yeah, that's a conversation that has to be had. Sure.
Okay, so give us an idea of, I guess, how you realized you had a problem and when everything went down.
It was early October 6th to be exact. Actually, it was October 6th is when it happened. October 7th, driving into work, my assistant calls me. He's like, "Yeah, the servers are down." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Well, I'm on my way. Let me, when I get there, I'll check things out." So when I get there, at that time, we had a domain controller in each building, a physical domain controller in each building.
Okay.
So our high school and middle school are right next to each other. And the high school is like our main server room. So I'm bouncing between those two. Can't log in. It just keeps looping. I can't get a login screen at all. So I was like, something's wrong. So I'm thinking, first thing I think is to call Microsoft and open up a ticket to figure out what's going on with these, right?
Yeah.
So fortunately enough, it's not easy to get in touch with.
I was just going to say, do you have that number? Because I don't know a whole lot of people that have that number.
Yeah, and I say fortunately because it has had nothing to do with that, and it has just been a total waste of time.
Yeah, right.
So my prior boss, like when I started in the district, I was just the assistant. He retired, and then I became tech director. So he still works as a consultant with the district. He does our E-rate stuff and everything. So I called him, and we trying to mentor him back and forth and everything. So we did have backups of our servers, but we did it. Okay, we backed up this server to that server.
Oh,
and vice versa.
Okay,
so that's how we did our backups at that time. So he was like, "Well, I think we have backups to those servers." So I'm on this one of our servers that was still active. I'm on it, kind of searching around, and I tell you guys, by the sheer grace of God, man, I just clicked on this notepad file. I to this day, I can't really tell you why. I was just curious as to why that was in that folder at that time, and I clicked on it, and I started reading it, and I'm like, "Is this a kid show?" Because I was like, "Holy," So I called my prior boss, and I'm like, "Dude,
so what was in the file? Was it a ransom note?"
Yes, it was a ransom note.
Okay.
It was just a notepad, and it was like ransom. It just read all this stuff, and this is how you contact us. And
man!
And I'm like, I was like, we've been hacked.
Did they say how much they wanted?
No, they were saying contact them first.
Okay.
Contact them first. So the first thing I did was I kind of panicked.
Well, sure.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like, what do we do? So he's like, well, there's a company, and I won't say their names. You probably
right. Yeah.
So that I usually deal with, but I wasn't kind of feeling them at the time. So I was honestly in the process of trying to move on to another company.
Okay.
So I call this guy, and I'm like, "Dude, we've been hacked. I got a ransom note. Do you know anybody?" He's like, "Yeah." So he directed me to a company out of Kansas City.
Okay.
So I call this guy. He's like, "Yeah, man, we help you out, this and this and this." So he's like, "I'm gonna send you this, sign it." And I'm like,
"Oh no, contract."
All right, cool. So So he sends it and I signs it. So he tells me, okay, this is the process. He's going to send a guy out from Kansas, drive all the way from Kansas City. He's going to drive in. He's going to put a device on our network to monitor everything.
Okay.
And the guy's on his way. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm waiting. So he finally gets there about 4:00 that evening.
So you guys have been down all day.
Here's the crazy part. 3 of the buildings were down. The wireless was working in the building because our wireless controller is on a different server.
Okay.
So the wireless was working in all 3 buildings. Our one remote elementary school still had internet, full internet, because their domain controller was still up and operational.
Okay.
We couldn't log into it. They kind of knocked us out of it, so we couldn't log into it at all.
So they probably changed your passwords. They probably changed your account passwords.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Got rid of the administrator stuff, so it's still working. So they still had internet. Everybody else was shut down.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So I'm like, okay, and mind you, my superintendent, this is his first year here in the district.
He's thinking really highly of you.
Yeah. So
is there still 3 guys at the time?
No, the second assistant had already left.
Okay.
Had already left.
So 4:00 Wednesday evening, the guy from Kansas City shows up.
This 4:00 Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Because I'll still say it. We're a 4-day-a-week school.
Okay.
We're off on Mondays.
Gotcha.
So he's like, guy gets in, and I don't know about you guys, but the most aggravating thing to me is when you're getting support and the person doesn't know nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't know what they're doing. They have to call and get instructions from people, but this guy has no clue of what he's doing. I mean, it's awful. So he's there. He's on the phone with this guy, and he's like, so he's trying to configure the device and doing this. So we're there till like 11 o'clock.
Oh my God.
And he accomplishes nothing. So I'm rather upset. I'm like, so he leaves. He's on his way back to Kansas City. I'm like, I call my superintendent. I'm like, I'm working on this and this. I think I may have spent the night there. I don't remember actually. Although I did spend many of nights in the high school.
Oh, sure.
On the couch in the library. So, the next day, I get on the phone with the owner of the company, and I'm expressing my disappointment. This guy kind of wasted my time or whatever. So now I'm in charge of getting their guy at their facility remoted into the little device so he can fix everything.
Okay.
What?
So I remote him in.
What is this device?
I'm not. It was kind of a monitoring device. I didn't get an exact name of it. So I just wanted it to work.
I've heard of. It's not from Carbon Black, but there's one of the big antivirus companies has it's almost like an inline device that can sit on your network, and it inspects every packet going through outbound, and it can kind of itemize everything and give you a report of what's going on. I kind of wonder if that's what. And
we're about to have a security scan, and I think they're going to do the same thing.
Okay.
So we have a company that's going to do a security scan, and I think they're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I get the guy remoted in. He's trying to get it fixed, and he can't get it fixed. So now I'm in. So my superintendent that night, he realizes that we have cyber insurance.
Oh, okay.
Right. So he's like, you know what? I think we have cyber insurance. So he makes a phone call. It's like, yeah. So they set up a meeting. So I'm going and I'm on the phone with the owner. I'm like, I'm going into this meeting with my superintendent, and I don't have nothing to tell him. I'm like, dude, this is just crazy. So I know if they don't have anything, because I don't know what the meeting is. I know the meeting is about the cyber attack, but I'm not sure what's going to come of it. So I tell him, I'm thinking in my head, listen, if I get out of this meeting and you guys don't have this fixed, you're done.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
Right. You're done.
Right.
So I go to the meeting, and so they're asking us questions and everything. And so I'm answering the questions. So they said, okay, the way this works is they hired, the insurance people hired a law firm
Right.
to kind of like represent everything.
Right.
So it's like you have to deal with this company and this company.
Yeah.
There was one company that dealt with the ransomware side of it, and they were going to communicate with the hackers.
Oh, okay.
As us.
Right.
And then there was the company that did the forensics. Okay, we need to find out how they got in and all this.
Right.
Right. So so we had this conversation. It was like, okay, you have to use these companies. So I'm like, okay, this guy's out anyway. And as I'm in his meeting, he texts me, oh, we got it fixed. I'm like, dang. I'm like, dang, it's gonna be easy to fire him now. So,
Right.
so I'm like, okay, so I get out of the meeting. I call him with my superintendent sitting there, and I explained to him, hey, they told us we have to deal with this certain company.
Right.
Thank you for your help, yada, yada, yada. So I'm trying to set it up to where on down the line he could possibly get some business from us.
Sure.
And I'll go into that later. So so the company, the forensics company, sends somebody out immediately. They was like, this guy's on the flight, he'll be there tomorrow.
So where was the forensics company from?
They have guys all over the place.
Okay. Okay.
Like they have guys that I think this particular guy was out of New York, but I don't think he was in New York at the time.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they put 2 guys on premise. No, actually 3. It was 3 guys they sent that were on premise, and their job was to get images of all servers, of all the servers, and send it back to the forensic people. You know, so that's what they did. And then they tried to get us up and running. But at this time, like I said, I knew how they got in because now I'm looking to see, okay, what servers are available, which ones can I log into?
Yeah.
You know, so I logged into that one and I saw like all kinds of like remote connection software and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, this is it. And that particular server was for our intercom system.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And the way they actually got in was a long time, like this had been open like about 5 years, at least 5 or 6 years, possibly. Because a long time ago, when we expanded, we added to all our schools. Like we had trailers. So they went from trailers to just adding on to the schools.
Yep.
So we get rid of the trailers. So
we did that too recently.
You did that?
Yep.
So when the construction was done, they were like, okay, for security purposes, that's when they said we're getting a new intercom. So my boss, I wasn't the tech director at the time. Matter of fact, I was in the process of becoming tech director as the construction was going on. So just imagine me getting thrown into this like right in the middle. I mean, construction is just now going on, and they're like, "Okay, you're it." I'm like,
right,
okay.
Yeah,
right. So anyway, they opened up RDP.
Oh man,
our firewall
again
for that company to get in and to configure everything for the intercom system.
Yeah,
right. So that was left open. And like I said,
always RDP. It's always RDP. That's amazing.
So I started beating myself up over that because I'm like, I should have, went through a firewall and da-da-da. So I'm just, it's all this, the if, coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So how long did it take the forensics company to come back with an answer or kind of remediate the problems that you were having on your domain controller boxes?
They got this one guy remotely. The guys on premises, they were like, we just know this part of the job.
Yeah.
So it's like, we have a guy who's Microsoft, used to work for Microsoft. He knows everything. We're going to hook you up with him, and he's going to get you back going. The first thing we asked the ransomware company, the company that we're dealing with, we said, like, listen, what's the possibility of us just starting over fresh?
Sure,
You know?
right. Yeah, that's what I would want to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, oh, no, Will, usually this is how it works. So they kind of talked us out of it. We're like, okay, fine. So the one thing I did know was the server at the remote elementary school was, I say, it's operational. I say, but we just can't get into it, you know? So I'm telling them, I'm like, they're like, oh, let's do this. I say, listen, guys, if we can get into that server, I think we can get Active Directory and get a lot of the stuff we need.
Right.
So they're like, okay, fine. So we went over there, remoted the guy in, and he got in it. I don't know how, but he got into it. And he got us a password. So now we're like, okay, we're ready to go. So he steadily started rebuilding all of our domain controllers, right? So we were about 2 weeks in, because by this time, like I said, the wireless was still working. So the district adjusted, and they just knew that they can use, everybody had Chromebooks and stuff. So they adjusted Chromebooks. So they were still using that, which helped out a lot.
So they kind of just rolled with the punches then. They were able to work wireless.
I tell you, man, that they were so patient with me and everything, and that they really got me through that tough time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great. So we're about 2 weeks in, right? And I thought we were ready to go. I'm like, we worked through the weekend. We had that Monday available. I'm thinking Tuesday, everything's back to normal. The domain controllers were, but we were having a couple of little problems that we kept pointing out to the guy that was rebuilding the domain controllers.
Here it comes.
It's like, okay, well, listen, this is not working properly. He was like, oh, okay, yeah, da-da-da. So he just kind of brushed it off, So we're like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, this is the professional, so he knows what he's talking about.
So we're like,
right.
All right, man, well, fine, So, man, I tell you, we were reinstalling printers back on the servers and everything. We were ready to go. I think we had to reboot that one server. Now, because you guys know, domain controllers, one go down, the other ones work great.
Sure,
have to work. Right. The one server that was left up at the elementary, I think we had to reboot it. And we rebooted it, and it just killed everything.
Oh, no.
It killed everything, man.
All your other domain controllers?
All the other domain controllers that just wouldn't work properly. So we're like...
Were they re-encrypted, or they were just kind of hosed?
Well, we tried to figure it out. They didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what was going on. So we were just thinking maybe it was something on that server that they were communicating with, and once it rebooted, it killed that communication, and somehow it just disrupted everything else.
So did you have to rebuild everything again?
Well, by that time we were done with those guys. He's like, listen, thanks for your help, and we really appreciate that you guys did the best you can. But the fact that you ignored those little things that we were, because now we're believing, like, if he'd have paid attention to those.
Yeah, right.
So I had to eat crow and call a company that I usually dealt with, that I didn't really want to deal with. I had to eat crow and call them, because they were like, listen, we've done this before, da-da-da-da. So those guys were awesome, man.
Wow.
We were back up and running in 4 days.
But that's after the 2 weeks.
After the 2 weeks. We were back up and running. And we
started
from scratch at that time.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man.
In 4 days.
Oh, my gosh.
So, yeah, man. So I'm like, listen, like I said, man, I'm sleeping there. I'm showering there. I'm working weekends. I'm not leaving until, like, these guys, I send these guys home back to their hotel at like 10, 11 o'clock. I was working till 3 a.m. one time. Oh, it was just, I was really stressed. But like I said, man, my district stepped up. My superintendent, he was very, very patient with me. He's like, listen, man, I think a big part of it was he saw how hard I was working.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He probably looked at the security cameras and saw that you were, hey, is he really working, or is he saw you sleeping there?
So the school district is on the main strip coming in and out of town.
Yeah.
So people that roll past and see my car sitting there. It's like,
man,
I rode past here at 3:00 in the morning and your car was like, hey, you do what you do.
So I really, I feel bad that we're laughing, but I feel like
it's funny now. It's funny now.
I feel like if this were to happen, my luck would dictate I would have an experience like yours, unlike the experience that who'd we have on last time? Denzel.
I told you. I don't know if he told you guys. I think I know who that is.
Oh, okay. We can talk afterwards.
I think I know who that is, but yeah.
Like the stars aligned for Denzel. He was down like 25 minutes. Everything was back up and hunky dory. That's, to me, in this type of scenario, that is not normal. He either got really lucky or he is a great he is a good tech director. Don't get me wrong, but
for sure.
My luck is I'm going to have to fire 3 companies before the company gets it right. That's just how my luck is. I mean, so what did the insurance companies say when that professional organization that they recommended to you screwed up like that?
They didn't really say anything. They just worried about bills.
Oh, sure.
Right. They were worried about how much money they had to come off.
So did they end up paying that company even though they screwed up?
So, well, the insurance company did. Like I said, I told the insurance company, what I told them was, it depends on what you all's agreement was with that company.
Right.
Because if it's best effort, then you pay them because that's what it was. It was best effort.
Yep, you're right.
But if it was to get us going, they don't get that money because they didn't.
So, so were any of your desktops encrypted at all, or was it just mainly those domain controllers?
We found a ransom note on one desktop. And here's the crazy part is, so they said that these guys were amateurs because usually they encrypt everything the same. They give you one code, and you decrypt everything, and you're good.
Yeah.
Because I think it went from like 200 grand down to 44.
Huh.
I think they ended up paying like 44,000.
So did you guys end up paying ransom then or no?
Yeah, they ended up paying it. The company that was communicating with them as us, their job was to communicate with them and talk them down. And to get the encryption codes.
So I didn't realize, I didn't get that part of the story. So you paid the ransom to get the codes to unencrypt your domain controllers. And I guess that's more or less how the forensics company or the professionals were able to get your boxes back up. Okay.
Correct. So, somewhat, because what we had to do was I had to reinstall the OS.
Okay.
And once I reinstalled the OS, then they encrypted like all the files on there.
Okay.
All the files you had on there, they encrypted it.
So were these
encryption?
Were these just regular like file share servers, or were
these are domain? I mean, it was all servers actually.
Okay, so
we had
sys,
domain controllers. We had one server that we had a bunch of virtual machines on, and they killed the virtual machines and then encrypted that server.
Wow.
And we had a couple of other different servers, one for our business lab and multimedia lab that they stored all their videos and stuff on.
Yeah. And see,
like that.
Maybe I think about things wrong, but like the media files for the business lab, I'm not paying a ransom for that. I'll build a new box and move on. I mean,
well, it was kind of an all or nothing at that time.
I said, okay.
We asked them the question, should we just start from scratch? Oh no, it's much better. You get the encryption code. So they kind of talked us into it.
Interesting.
So, we know the entry point, an RDP server, RDP to your intercom server. But still, like, what do you know? Like, what account they were able to compromise?
It was the assistant who left.
Oh,
It was his.
And how do you guys know how they compromised the account?
like a brute force attack, or did they harvest the credentials?
Not sure. Quite honestly, once we knew how they got in, and they had to determine if, because we don't store. I mean, our student information system is. We go through another company for that, so that wasn't stored on site.
Okay.
Some of our financial information was on one of the servers, but that's actually stored in that company offsite also. So we just needed to determine, did they actually get any information?
Yeah.
So we can notify, the public.
So how did that shake out? Did you guys end up having to notify parents, or?
We actually didn't.
Okay.
Rumors kind of got around and stuff, so everybody kind of knew.
So
why is Gene's car always parked in the parking lot at 3 in the morning?
Yeah, Gene hasn't left work in 2 weeks. There must be something wrong. So I guess local media didn't pick anything up. You guys, nobody did a story or anything.
No.
Interesting.
No, local paper didn't. I'm telling you, it was, like I said, the district was just so supportive. And everything, man. So, and that really got me through it, because, I learned a lot about, so I don't care about saying this, but my second assistant, there was a bad time.
Yeah.
That was a bad time because those guys that came to help, they're like, hey, you got help? And I'm like, yeah, I got an assistant. It's like, well, where is he? I'm like, yeah, he's at home.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
you know,
he's bad like that. Oh,
so I have to tell them this is probably a dead giveaway, but so I was pretty upset about that.
And I would.
I made sure I let them know it.
I'd have been driving to somebody's house. Yeah, I'd have been.
So
upset.
his explanation was, well, you didn't ask me. you didn't ask me to come work.
Oh man.
Okay. So my analogy was, listen. If the house was burning down, would I have to tell you to go get water? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the worst thing that happened to the district in a lifetime, and you telling me I didn't ask you to stay to help. Come on, dude.
There's the title for the episode right now.
Man.
Right there. If the house is on fire, do I need to tell you to get water? Episode 33. Right there. There's the title. So Gene,
that was pretty bad.
So this happened in October, lasted you pretty much the month of October, the way it sounds. What would you say? I mean, beyond leaving RDP exposed to the internet, what would you say would be one of your main takeaways from the event?
Backups.
Yeah.
Make sure, because right now we have on-site and off-site backups.
Good.
And we had Carbonite, which sucked, by the way. We have them.
Thankfully, they're not a sponsor of the show, Gene. Jeez, come on.
My bad. But we had, and they were. It was like they're supposed to go. Okay, the encryption happened on this date. Okay, we can restore you back to this date, but no, they were not helpful at all.
Interesting.
The best thing to happen out of all that the one company did to try to get us back up and going, the best thing that happened was we recovered the server that had our access control stuff on it.
Oh,
our badges and all that.
Yeah.
That was the best thing that happened, because if we would have had to rebuild that from scratch, that would have been a headache for sure.
Yeah. And that's
the best thing that happened.
Yeah, backups. That obviously it's key. It can kind of pull you out of the fire if it needs to. Well, Gene, we really appreciate you coming on and your candor and being so honest with us and just kind of laying it out there like it was, man. If I was in your shoes, Chris, Corey, I don't know about you guys, but if I was in your shoes after two weeks of being down and then oh, let's reboot this server because it's acting funky, and then everything's down again, I would have lost my mind.
Nothing went right.
Yeah.
Everything was terrible, Gene.
I'm seriously, man, I was almost in tears, like, because now I had to tell her, like I said, at least the wireless was working. Because if the wireless wasn't working, I don't know what I did.
Yeah, it would have been public at that point.
Did your phone stay up?
Yes, phone system stayed up. Camera system stayed up. It was just internet.
But like, did you have good backups? No. Did you have a company you could rely on quickly? No.
They showed up quickly.
What's that one plan that we bragged on Denzel for having, like the disaster recovery plan?
Yeah, emergency response plan. Yeah.
Did you have an emergency response plan? No. Nothing went well.
Let me ask you guys this, because when I went through this, right? When I went through this, I kept wondering, like, when you mentioned the disaster recovery, I kept wondering, like, can you plan for something like this? Like, I know you can now.
Right.
But, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like about 9 years into the tech field, period. Like, I work, and I'm probably much older than I look. I'm like 51. I just turned 51 this year. So,
I've been in IT for almost 25 years, hence the gray hair and bald spot. I've seen some stuff. I've
Bigger
caused
than a spot.
Hey, now, I've caused some outages myself. ThankfullyVe never been through something like this.
I mean, I've read about your story before, Gene. It's in the book of Revelation. Everything is on fire.
Ain't nobody to get the water.
Where's the water?
Yeah, because that guy didn't bring the water.
Like, you're looking up to the sky for rain, and it is not raining.
Yeah, so I'm in a position where I really don't know what I don't know, because I started in IT late, and I started off as the assistant, and I just had a great work ethic. And 2 years in, my boss is like, "Hey, I'm retiring, and I'm recommending you for tech director."
Hey, that's awesome, though.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and I think the biggest part, and these guys will tell you, these guys have been in IT Chris and Corey have been in for quite as well, not as long as me, but being able to admit and know that you don't know everything is a huge step. That right there will save you more times than it won't. Because there are other resources out there that you can reach out to, that you should reach out to when you don't know something,
exactly.
and that's a little bit of humbleness goes a long way. That's
why my previous boss, that was the tech director, that's why he's so intricate in, because at that time, I mean, like I said, I'm 2 years in, and they were like, "Listen, we want to kind of keep you on retainer," because even though he had about 5 months or so to train me, it's like, listen, I can't teach you everything in 5 months, because there are going to be things that I don't know, I don't remember or whatever, that don't come up that I can't teach you. And like I said, at that time, we're getting a new intercom system, and we're getting a new access control, and we're getting all this new stuff. And I always joke with him about him retiring was, he saw all this stuff coming in, and he's like, "Listen, I'm out of here."
yeah, that's a lot of work. I'm out.
I'm not dealing with all this stuff, so he elected to retire.
I do think one of the big takeaways that I have with this, though, is you did step up and get rid of those companies when they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And I think a lot of personalities, a lot of folks in tech would just, yield it to the company and let them do it. But you made several tough calls there that needed to be made to get things fixed.
Sure. Yeah, and the biggest one for me was dealing with this company. Like, I was really on the outs with this company.
Mm-hmm.
I just really, because
the one that came in and saved the day. Yeah.
Relationship with them over the years. And I was just like, so I was looking at the things that they handled. I was looking for another company to deal with those things. And when that fell through, I'm like, I went back to. I'm like, listen, man,
you don't have another option.
You
Yeah,
know, I was like, listen, we cool. Let's come on in and get us back up and running. So.
Well, Gene, we appreciate your time. We got a few more things to talk about. We gotta talk about something cool real quick too. So you can drop if you want. We appreciate your time tonight. I'll email.
I hang
you.
around and listen to what you guys talking about. I might learn something.
All right, that's fine.
Learning.
We'll get
Thanks,
you some
Gene.
swag for coming on. We appreciate your.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks. So, Chris and Corey, what are your thoughts about Gene's story? I mean, it's one of those, like I said, Denzel's story went so right, and Gene.
Well, Denzel's like, I turned to page 7 and then I did what it said.
Yeah, and
well, yeah, Denzel was even like, he told the company that was helping, like, no, we're good.
Yeah,
We're good.
Yeah.
And then Gene's like, can I get a drop of water?
Yeah, Josh would for sure be Gene.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have no doubts.
I would not be able to handle it
God.
as well as Gene. I would be on the stress unit at a hospital somewhere.
Well, once I rebooted that server, like that would have been it. Like I'd been like, okay, this is it for me.
Yeah, here's my resignation.
Like,
somebody
I'm
else
not,
can take
like-
this over. Yeah.
Yeah, Josh is Gene, but not handling it well like Gene did.
No. I would have had straight to the liquor store and gotten a bottle of whiskey.
I mean, technical wise, Gene's story, I think, obviously he found out pretty easily like how they got in.
Right.
I would have still wanted to know, like, how did they get an account? Like, they found the server with a login screen over the internet.
Yeah.
But still, like, how did they figure out, like, one of the, like, it sounds like it was a domain admin account again. Like, how did they capture that account?
That stuff, I mean, Windows is notoriously easy to brute force if you don't have everything, like account lockout protocols set up just perfect. Nothing would surprise me. I mean, the big hole there is RDP exposed to the web. And until recently, there was a student information system that more or less required RDP to be exposed to the web. Now, they would tell you their external IP addresses that any remote sessions would come from, and kind of, I think, recommended that you edit your firewall rule to isolate to those addresses. But I mean, we're talking a big player in the field, so it's common, and I know. Our listenership is, I like to think, very large and massive. I know there's people out there that are listening to this show that have RDP exposed to the web. And it's one of those things that, yeah, it's bad, but so many people did it for so long, they might have forgotten about it. They don't know it's out there.
Right.
It's one of those things you need to go in and check your firewall rules and really understand what they're doing.
Yep.
I agree.
You might have that rogue rule that's showing your hiney to the web, and you don't know it. So, Chris, your hiney? I didn't want to say tookus or.
I don't know.
What's a hiney?
Oh, come on.
Anyway, somethingcool.com, a proud sponsor of the K-12 Tech Talk podcast. I talked about it several weeks ago. They have a relationship with Ruckus. I filled out the paperwork for Ruckus. They have a funding support program where they will go out and do research for your school district to see what grants and funding are available for you. So just today, I got an email from Jeremy at Something Cool, sales@somethingcool.com. My report is ready. I looked at it briefly. It is 71 pages.
Holy cow, of potential funding?
Yeah, and it gets into, it will list the grant and then tell you some steps on how to apply and what website to go look at, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And then I have a call next week, so I'll end up talking about it with Jeremy and one of the guys from Ruckus to explain the report, to kind of go over it. So I'm curious about it to see if it's a big old Ruckus sales pitch in the middle of it, or if it's just genuine good information. They're hoping that, they give you that bone and you pick up on Ruckus later or whatever. But anyway, somethingcool.com. Check them out.
All right. So you can find us on all your favorite podcast apps. Share us with your friends, your cohort. Yes, Corey.
Hold on. I have something to say.
What?
And I think all the listeners should know when another listener reaches out to the podcast. So if we can recall last week's episode, I let all the listeners know I don't have access to the K12 Tech Talk Gmail account.
The K what Tech Talk?
Which I still don't have access to today. So I asked the listener simply like, hey, like let us know if Corey should have access to it. So a listener did call in, voicing his displeasure with that, and I would like to play that for everybody right now.
Formally voiced my support for Corey and added the email list. As I said previously in many emails, Corey is the GOAT, and that is it.
So to transcribe that, but I'm going to be quick. We're running out of time.
Yeah, we are. About 5 minutes ago.
Corey is the GOAT. So that's multiple times now I've been referenced as the GOAT.
By the same person.
It's more of official at this point. We're not keeping score on who's saying it. I would just like, I appreciate that listener. I don't know how many thousands of emails we got for me to get access to the email account because I don't have access to the email account.
The one from your brother.
I assume it was thousands.
We did have listener Pate who said, don't give Corey access.
All right. We're going to.
Hey, Aruba, also a proud sponsor of the K12 Tech Talk podcast.
We're going to cut all of that out. I had a listener message me today saying that he attended the Aruba funding webinar with Dan and I can't think of that other guy's name about ESRA money and E-rate money and all that stuff. He said it was actually really, really good. And he heard about it from our podcast. So
excellent.
We got Aruba, some attendees to their
Aruba
webinar.
Should know I do have ClearPass, maybe looking at to expand what we do with it. Okay. Because it's a great product, manages wireless. Awesome. We'll even manage your wired network if need be. We're hoping to expand it per approval.
Yep.
So thank you, Aruba.
Yeah. Good save, Corey. All right. So that's been an episode. Kind of went off the rails there towards the end. Thanks for listening to episode 33 of K12 Tech Talk. Share with your friends, your distribution list, your county meetups if you have them, conferences. Look, there might be some news coming from us about a very popular national conference here in the next couple weeks or so. We'll be happy to share that or excited to share that. That's all I have for tonight, guys. You guys got anything? Closing comments?
Gene's story was awesome.
Gene's story was awesome because I feel like I would be living that story if it happened to me. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye-bye.